Hello, friends on YouTube. How's it going today? Happy Friday. This is going to be a response video to The Dark Path. Matt recently put out a the best live albums of all time video, which I thought was pretty fun idea. So I thought I would piggyback on to that concept. I know Pat from Ground Zero Salem just did so as well, but you might catch on. You might see more people doing it because Matt, good idea. Matt had some key indicating factors to him what makes a good live album. One of which, I agree with most of them, but one of which was saying that he needed to feel like he was at the concert, a part of the concert, and for that fully all immersive sense of being there. And I can understand that, but to me, live albums have always been kind of like a greatest hits package. Oftentimes a get out of your label contract type of release. And Matt is right. There is a lot of them that aren't even remotely live. Like Peter Frampton Comes Alive, for instance. I think that I read somewhere at some point, this is probably skewed information after years of rotting in my old brain, but I think the only thing they used from the live recordings for Frampton Comes Alive was the bass drum and a bass line or something, which, wow, I mean, that's like one of the biggest live albums in rock history, and it's only a very, very small fraction of it live. But anyway, these are some live albums that I have heaped together to show off, and some of them are pretty important to me. Like these first couple really got the ball rolling for me in music appreciation. And, some of them aren't super influential, but they're just enjoyable. And I'm probably missing some as I was perusing the collection, trying to remember, because a live album isn't something I'm listening to very often anymore. If I'm going to listen to something live, it's typically in Blu-ray form or video or whatever. But anyway, let's get started. To me, these first two are probably the most influential albums in my life, just for the fact that I was very young when these came out. In fact, they were out before I finally got hold of them. I think I started collecting Kiss records, listening to Kiss when it was 77 or 78. When I first got into them, I was 7 years old, I guess. But anyway, my grandmother bought me this very record, Kiss Alive. Live or not, this album is fucking awesome. It documents live the best elements of their early career, which is, by all intents and purposes, their best. I mean, the best music Kiss ever did was their first, 5 or 6 albums. But yeah, Kiss Alive. Apparently, I saw Kiss on TV at some point, whether it was Mike Douglas or a Halloween special, Paul Lynde's Halloween special. I don't know. But apparently, my grandmother and my mother said that I would not shut up about it until they bought me this record, which, there's a little bit of language on here for a 7-year-old, but, hats off to my parents for never really discouraging what I listened to, because that could have went really probably horrible for everybody. But Kiss Alive, definitely one of these albums I could put on and be teleported back to sitting at my grandmother's house in front of her gigantic console stereo, listening to every note and flash bomb and awesome songs like Cold Gin, Rock Bottom, Black Diamond, 100,000 Years, Parasite, Nothing to Lose, Strutter, Deuce, Hotter Than Hell. Fucking great. And to continue with the Kiss is Kiss Alive 2, another very influential album in my life. And this is the original album I've had ever since I was a kid. I don't think any of the shit that came in this is anywhere. It's not in here anymore. In fact, these records are so scratched up and fucked up, but they still play. When this came out, I think it surpassed Kiss Alive for me. Just the energy although I think the songs are better on a live. And, you know, really Alive is a better live album. But this, you know, captured Kiss at the height of their popularity, as far as I'm concerned. And plus you got the studio tracks at the end. All American Man, Rockin' in the USA, Larger Than Life, Rocket Ride, Any Way You Want It. And great, Shout Out Loud, King of the Nighttime World, Love Gun. Love this album. Love these two albums. And looking forward to handing these down to my kids someday when I'm dead and gone. But moving on, my life progressed along a hard rock avenue growing up. I think I had a brief stint in the 80s where, you know, MTV and 80s music was great. You know, 80s music is great. I don't care really what anyone says. It's catchy. It's inventive. It's electronic, largely. And I think that influence, the 80s influence, kind of seeped into my love of other things like industrial music and gothic, and which we'll probably get into a little bit here as well. But moved on a path, pretty linear path of getting into heavier and heavier stuff until I heard like Metallica or whatever, and then it was all over. It was like from there on heavy, heavy, heavy. But I know Pat showed this, but Venom live in concert. This is the Ein Klein Nacht Music CD. Saw the video of this. Was pretty blown away by it. Wow, this is disc rot? No, it's just dirty. This was put out, I believe, by... No, it was not. I take that back. I was going to say K-Tel. But no, this was over 70 minutes of music. I don't know. There's two concerts on here. Live at Hammersmith, 1985. Live at the Ritz, New York, 1986. All the old classics for Venom. Love this live album. Whether it's live or not, I don't know. I don't care. But it's got the rawness and the intensity and the sloppiness that Venom personified. And great live album. This, I know Pat showed this as well, but man, this is a great fucking live album. This is Sodom's Mortal Way of Live. Damn it. As a three-piece, these guys were the ultimate thrash power trio. Persecution Mania for me is my favorite Sodom album. Absolute classic. I think it completely shits on Obsessed by Cruelty and Under the Sign, or I don't know, the EP, I can't remember, I'm drawing a blank. I mean, that shit's awesome, but Persecution Mania for me is the absolute best Sodom album, and they've never ever touched it since. Persecution Mania, Outbreak of Evil, Conqueror, Motorhead cover of Iron Fist, which, you know, largely unnecessary, but it was live, so Sodomy and Lust. This album is fucking awesome, and it is completely raw, completely evil sounding. You can kind of hear Sodom's black metal beginnings really boiling over in this. It's so much intensity. It's a three-piece. I love Chris Witchhunter's sloppy drum performance. Well, hey. Say hi. This is Butterfly, by the way. She is wanting to be in a video, I guess. Okay, go. Scoot, go. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, Witch Hunter, his drumming, the way he would, instead of throw in drum rolls at the end of a measure, he tended to just throw them in the middle of the riffs. Really weird, but it always gave Sodom a very unique attack. This is great. If you have not heard Mortal Way of Live, this is a perfect snapshot of a band at their peak, as far as I'm concerned. And with complete focus on their early material up through Persecution Mania. Great album. Next up, another German band, Destruction, Live Without Sense. I was a humongous Destruction fan. The first 3 albums, classics. They're always weird produced, and I think my favorite is Infernal Overkill, but at the time, Eternal Devastation did not leave my tape deck for ages and ages and ages. I'm about to sneeze here at some point. Sorry, it's like something's going on. Noise International. Nope, this is Steamhammer. I'm sorry. But this was recorded during the, I believe this was recorded during the tour they did with Cro-Mags, where metalheads and punks, hardcore kids were intermingling for the first time with mixed results. Typically, I think the metalheads got beat up a lot, but It's a great live album, and I really should have grabbed the Creator one too, but we'll get to that all later. Next up, this is a fantastic live album by Iced Earth, Alive in Athens. 2 CD set. Burning Times, Pure Evil, The Hunter, Watching Over Me. I mean, I think this was recorded during the Dark Saga tour. This was in Greece, obviously, Alive in Athens, and really well recorded. The way John Schaefer modeled this band, I mean, they're basically the USA Iron Maiden. I mean, even is that Riddick art? I believe it is. It sure looks like it. But anyway, you know, they got their little mascot. And I think Iced Earth was always a little more macho and manly than Iron Maiden ever was. But this is a great live album. Great sound. Matt Barlow is completely on point on this. There is a little bit faster tempo to the songs. A little more aggression in his voice. Great, great, great live album. Next up. Should go without saying this would be here, but in concert 1987, Abigail by King Diamond. Probably not the best live album ever. And I probably should have grabbed Merciful Fate's Live from the Depths of Hell fan released bootleg, but because I listened to that a lot back in the day too. But this was on high rotation. I mean, my favorite King Diamond album is Fatal Portrait, but them and Abigail and Conspiracy are all forever, for the longest time, my teenage years, I would have King Diamond and Merciful Fate marathons that would last for fucking weeks. I would listen to nothing but King Diamond or Merciful Fate. This is Road Racer. Obviously, I got this used somewhere for $3.88, but that was after owning the cassette tape. I mean, I probably wore the tape out back in the day. But this is a great live album with some absolute classics. Come to the Sabbath is on here. It starts off pretty early. No Presents for Christmas. The Candle. The Possession. The Portrait. I mean, a lot of stuff on here. I mean, I love Fatal Portrait, and there's a lot of Fatal Portrait on here. Next up, people are probably going to wrinkle their nose and scoff, but I don't much fucking care. Man of War. This is Hell on Stage Live. Disc 1 is fucking great. Metal Days, Dark Avenger, March for Revenge, which is an amazing fucking song. Hatred, Gates of Valhalla, Bridge of Death, William's Tale, Guyana, Cult of the Damned. That disc alone, I probably listened to it 100 times. It's just so well performed and composed, and everything about this is great. You know, they would put in the solos on their live discs, and, you know, they would completely... Oh, boobies! They would completely... not shy away from putting all the solos on their live stuff just to make sure you knew that it was live and they were the best band ever. But I'm a fucking Man of War fan. I wasn't for the longest time until my buddy Jeff Wagner made me a comp tape of like all of the best Man of War songs in his mind. And they're all the best. They were probably all the best greatest hits Man of War album ever made was made by Jeff Wagner. And then seeing them live, I think it was the New England Metal and Hardcore Festival. It was the first time I ever saw them live, and they were fucking awesome. They completely blew the roof off the place. Man of War, if you're going to turn your nose up at how cheesy they are and they look, try to get past that, because if you do, there is a shit ton of amazing metal in their early catalog especially. You know, Battle Hymns is great, Into Glory Ride, Hail to England, all that early stuff. Their first 4, 5 albums are fucking great. And even some of their new shit's good. They got a little more Radio Disney for me. It's a little too Radio Disney for me, but... Up next, this is another one I have enjoyed quite a bit. I think I have... Yeah, I have the DVD of this, but I did listen to this quite a bit. This is Gamma Ray, Hell Yeah, The Awesome Foursome, live in Montreal. This is a 2 CD set. This is a promo, so I don't have the full backing, but I do have the DVD of it. You know, it's got Man on a Mission on it, New World Order. I think that was the tour this was out, or Majestic maybe, I can't remember exactly. Heart of the Unicorn. Somewhere Out in Space. Kai Hansen is a power metal, heavy metal, traditional metal god as far as I'm concerned. And this guy has been doing it since the 80s and still kicking ass, even though I think smoking has pretty much destroyed his voice and whatnot. But this is good if you're into gamma ray and you're into power metal. You know, this is a worthy addition to your... You know, I haven't listened to this a shit ton, but I have completely enjoyed it. There is a bunch of tracks on here, 22 tracks. A lot of good stuff. Next up, moving off into a little lighter territories, but still, this is fantastic. This is Fields of the Nephilim, Earth Inferno. I'm a big Fields of the Nephilim fan. I'm a huge Carl McCoy vocal, deep, dark, grovelly vocal style fan. The dreariness and misery in Fields of the Nephilim's music has always been huge in my life. I love this band. Even when he broke off and did that little side project, Nephilim, it was more metalized. It was still good because it had Carl singing. But I'm a fan of Fields of the Nephilim from the beginning all the way to Morning Sun, their latest CD, which has been out. It's been a long time since they put that out. But Earth Inferno is great. I think this was recorded during the... I thought it was the Elysium, but it's not. It's before that. But it's got Psychonaut on there. At the time, the only place you could hear that song was on a 12-inch, which I also have. But it wasn't on any studio albums. But Psychonaut's on here. Dawn Razor, For Her Light, Moonchild, Preacher Man, Love Under Will. I think this came out, the tour between the Nephilim and Elysium. But either way, this is a fantastic live album, highly well produced. I mean, you can almost, you play on this, the fucking smoke comes out of your speakers. You know, there's so much, you could tell that the stage is just completely enveloped in dry ice and fog. Moving on, kind of in a similar genre, is Siouxsie and the Banshees with Nocturne. Siouxsie and the Banshees fan, the early stuff. The newer shit towards the end really didn't do much for me, but this is great. This has it says no overdubs, which if so is amazing. But I believe this has Robert Smith from the Cure on guitar. He joined Siouxsie and the Banshees at one point. He was on Hyena, and I thought it was another album. But anyway, this is great. Some great songs on here. Dear Prudence, Israel, Painted Bird, Slow Dive. Absolutely great live album. And I've got 5 here that I don't know if any, one of them, 2 of them were on CD, which I don't have, but I thought I'd show just the videos. All of these videos were insanely influential to me. Live pieces of live artifacts that I watched a million times back in the day when they came out. But first up is the Coroner No More Color Tour live in East Berlin. This is fucking great. You know, even though they're not jumping around and, you know, head banging like crazy. I mean, it was just 3 guys, the, you know, traditional power trio, absolutely endlessly talented. I mean, just the musicianship and watching these, you know, songs like Mass Jackal, Sudden Fall, Reborn Through Hate, Don't Need to Be Human, all these super technical thrash classics being played to perfection in a live setting. You know, you don't need a guy headbanging like crazy or jumping around like a freak. This is fucking great. And the fact that this band kind of, they went the path that they went, they kind of petered out really towards the end. I liked No More Color. I liked Mental Vortex, even though at the time I was initially a little disappointed by that album. It was a little more simplistic than what they had presented in the past, but still the songs are super catchy and there was just enough technicality to maintain, you know, a strong core in her presence. But man, they went out with that Grin album, which was a complete piece of shit. And I haven't heard any, they may have put out something new by now, I don't know. But in the same label mates, these are label mates. This is Sabbat, The End of the Beginning. Again, I've watched the shit out of this video. I love every note, every song, everything about the first 2 Sabbat albums are completely fucking awesome. History of a Time to Come and Dreamweaver. And that is what's all on here. I think it was during the Dreamweaver era that this was here. Do Dark Horses Dream of Nightmares? Behind the Crooked Cross, Eye for an Eye, Cautionary Tale for Those Who Died. Absolutely great. Martin Walkyier is a vocal presence, man. He has such a rapid fire vocal approach. Very articulate, very studied in his wording and phrases, and it might sound like he's like doing a thrash metal rap of so many lyrics being thrown out into a measure, but man, this band was so fucking good, and it's well documented on this video. Next up, oh man, I would be surprised if this video even still works, but Nuclear Assault, Handle with Care. Nuclear Assault is a band that I have loved forever, and towards the end they put out some crap, but you know, their Pounder CD had some promise. That mini CD they put out, I've had it, I just have not shown it yet. But Pounder was decent. It still sounds like Nuclear Assault, but this video, it was live at Hammersmith, fucking awesome. So much energy. This band, for a thrash band, no one sounded like Nuclear Assault. They were the perfect mix of New York hardcore and thrash, and they were more thrash than hardcore, but you could, you know, John's yelling style and just the overall ferocity in their music had a hardcore slant to me. But I love this band. I absolutely love this video. All the classics up through Handle with Care are on here. Definitely check that out. Now to change direction a little bit, this is Bauhaus Gotham. This was released on CD and LP as well, I believe. But I'm a Bauhaus fan. I think Bauhaus has put out some amazing albums, amazing music, but I don't think all of their albums, every album is from beginning to end perfect. I think every album has some great stuff on it with some throwaway shit, but their two Volume 1 and Volume 2 Best Of CDs, those are fucking flawless. If you're going to get into Bauhaus, check out Volume 1, check out Volume 2. And this video, this is like the best of Bauhaus, and with really high production value, great performance, great vocals. Peter Murphy is completely on top of his game on this. Hollow Hills, God in an Alcove, Double Dare, Telegram Sam, Ziggy Stardust, which is a Bowie cover, obviously. Dark Entries. This is fucking great. And if you have at all any sort of interest in the gothic, rock, alternative side of music, definitely check out Bauhaus Gotham. Absolutely great collection of songs. Next up, this is another thing that I fell completely in love with, and I saw them on this tour. This is Ministries, in case you didn't feel like showing up live, which I believe was recorded a day or 2 days after the date that I saw them on this tour in Chicago. I don't have the actual, I should have probably researched this a bit, but I saw them a day or two before this video was recorded in Chicago. Ministry never got any better than, well, Mine is a Terrible Thing to Taste. You know, Psalm 69, I think that's where they got the most popular, but that is really boring to me. Everything they did afterwards is pretty hit or miss, but all the electronic shit, except for maybe with Sympathy. I wasn't a big fan of him, Elaine, trying to rip off the British accent. But Twitch, the 12-inch singles, Land of Rape and Honey, and Mine's a Terrible Thing to Taste are complete, utter classics and genre-defining as far as industrial music goes. And, you know, Mine's a Terrible Thing to Taste, you know, the perfect integration of metal and industrial. But anyway, this is really good. It's got Ogre on it from Skinny Puppy, Martin Atkins on drums, Dylan Rifflin on drums. You know, there's, I think, Jello comes in on this, and The Land of Rape and Honey from Dead Kennedys. Great stuff. Watch the shit out of this. Live the experience once. The loudest, Ministry was the loudest show I've ever been to, and it completely fucked my hearing. But next up, these are what could be considered two influential things that never really sat well with me. First up is Monkey Puss, live in London by InTune. This is during the clandestine era of InTune, which I've stated on this channel numerous times that I am not a fan of clandestine. I can listen to it, I can appreciate some songs, but if you're going to hold up clandestine next to Left Hand Path has got two things that clandestine does not. It has the sound, and it's got the songs. Perfectly composed, written, sculpted songs. Whereas this album, well, not this album in particular, but clandestine is a scattershot of fucking riffs thrown together and a really rounded off, neutered sound. And speaking of rounded off, neutered sounds, this Monkey Puss live in London, I've got the video, the DVD of this as well. The sound on it is terrible. I mean, there is a chance that this was recorded completely live because they did not spruce up the tone at all. The guitars and everything, all the intensity is rounded off. Petrov sounds tired and burnt out. I mean, there's classics on here. Living Dead, Revel in Flesh, Crawl, which is a song I love, but Life Goes On, Drowned. Just doesn't sound the same as far as intensity goes. I always thought this could have been a lot better. And next up, I'll probably catch a ton of heat for this, but Iron Maiden, Live After Death. You know, when this came out, I was a fan, and I'm still a fan of this album. I think, you know, again, this is Maiden at their peak. Looking back on a very amazing career thus far, up to, what was it, Power Slave. This is the Power Slave tour. So Power Slave back is pretty much flawless Maiden, as far as I'm concerned. And the playing on this and the sound of this is great. What kills this album for me, I mean, it doesn't kill it per se, but what's disappointing about this album for me is Bruce Dickinson. This was recorded at the end of an extensive world tour in California, Long Beach, California. And they did like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dates, you know, 2-hour-long concerts. Bruce's vocals are fried on this album, completely fried as far as I'm concerned. He's got the lower mid-range register down pretty well still, but when he takes it up high, the soaring highs, it is completely, he's burnt out. And you watch the video Live After Death, he's like throwing his hands up, arms up, trying to hit those high notes that just aren't there because he has ran his voice into the ground at this point, which, you know, I can't blame the guy. He did the best he could. And this is still a good album, but man, some of the songs are hard to listen to because Bruce is struggling. But, you know, it did not stop me from spinning this album, I had it on tape when it came out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times because it's Maiden, and Maiden is amazing. Even Maiden, half-assed Maiden is usually still good Maiden, unless, of course, Blaze Bayley's singing. But, yeah, that's it. That's a small collection of some live stuff that I've loved over the years, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And thanks to Matt from The Dark Path for getting the ball rolling on this one. I think it's a cool idea, and, you know, live albums are the path less traveled, it seems, when people are talking about music. Because I don't think live albums are really that common of a release anymore. But yeah, I will put a link in my description to Matt's channel, The Dark Path. And check out Pat, Ground Zero Salem, his video, which, if I think about it, I'll put that in there too. And that's it. Live albums. What do you think? What are some that you like? Let's talk about it. See ya.